How y'all doing? My name is Larry Beasley. I'm currently a student at Full Sail University in the Recording Arts Bachelor's program, and right now I am taking the Music Copyright and Publishing course. And right now I want to talk for a few minutes about individual rights versus public domain. The current copyright law that we're under has come a long way from the original copyright law of 1909, and as structured now, copyright law grants the copyright holder exclusive rights for a limited amount of time, and that can last either the life of the author plus 70 years or 95 years from the date of publication for an anonymous, synonymous, or for hire work, or 120 years from the year of creation, whichever comes first. The copyright law structure is meant to allow content creators to be credited for and control the destiny of their work. The copyright expiration time is meant to allow the public to have access to the content after a reasonable amount of time in order to allow them to build upon the material and further the advancement of society. There's a multitude of works in the public domain, which is where a copyrighted creation goes after the copyright has expired, or if no one can be found to be credited with the creation, or if the content was created prior to the enaction of current copyright laws. But I'm only going to address a few. For examples, of course, you have to go back quite a ways through history because of that whole life of the author plus 70 years thing. Firstly, I want to address the works of William Shakespeare, and these being in the public domain have helped inspire generations of artists. They've helped advance art, and this is a good thing. In addition, I want to talk about the works of Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart. These again have inspired countless musicians and artists. They have helped make music and art more dynamic and interesting, and this is a good thing as well. Lastly, I want to address government-created images, and this is one of the few modern examples of public domain works. These have helped generations of students see things that they otherwise couldn't. They provide a visual element to many public television specials and documentaries, and this also is a good thing. But in contrast to that, there's also no shortage of content protected by copyright. Let's take, for example, music. You could use the Beatles catalog or the Jackson catalog. Music copyright protection is meant to allow artists to make a living off of their creative content. And though this is intended to protect content creators, it often ends up benefiting whomever holds the copyright to the creative content, in which doesn't always end up being the artist. But it does serve to protect the artist from the ever-increasing throngs of uncreative artist wannabes, but it also means that some of the works will remain untouchable until they fade into obscurity. So this is a bit of a double-edged sword, and in some ways stifles the creativity of new and pioneering artists. Now, looking at movies, we could talk about the Marvel franchise, who is now owned by Disney, but that's a can of worms I'm not going to open right now. But the protection of movies is meant to allow screenwriters and their counterparts to make a living off of their creative content. But as with music, this often ends up benefiting whichever corporate entity holds the copyright to the creative content. So though it's meant to protect the content creators, this can also stifle the creativity of upcoming media creators with interesting ways of recreating previous works. So once again, this can cause many films to remain off limits until long after they've lost relevance. And lastly, I want to talk about literary works, and for an example, we need not but look to our student textbooks. This is one of the most difficult categories to present judgment on, simply because the period of relevance for literary works can vary greatly. Copyright law is meant to protect the writers from unauthorized duplication, derivatives, distribution, performance, and exhibition of their work, but at the same time, this can present some problems to new and pioneering writers who may draw some of their inspiration from previous works. Other than that, my name is Larry Beasley. Thank you for listening, and God bless.